From your look, the trend of making live-action remakes based on already established animated franchises has taken over cinema in the recent years, Disney being the culprit. They've been launching a wave of live-action remakes, starting with Cinderella in 2015, but didn't truly take off until The Jungle Book came out a year later in 2016. This isn't the first time Disney has done this. They actually made a live-action version of The Jungle Book prior to the 2015 version, back in 1994.
Not an animal, you're a man.
I am not a man!
They later did 101 Dalmatians in 1996, which was a remake of the 1961 original. It later had a sequel, which was a continuation of the story that actually was original to the live-action version. However, none of these really took off, and the concept of live-action remakes went somewhat quiet for a while, until Disney decided to pick it up again. These movies do really well at the box office, but receive terrible reviews, mediocre at best. However, for a company as big as Disney, if the movie makes a lot of money, they're going to make more. Seeing this massive influx of live-action remakes and how well they're doing, other companies have gotten interested in getting a piece of that for themselves. One of these being Dreamworks, or perhaps more so Universal, which is the company that owns Dreamworks now. And they've decided to start with How to Train Your Dragon. A live-action adaptation has been in the works for a while now, and the movie recently started filming. It is currently on track to be released in 2025. There are a lot of different angles to view this development from. Personally, speaking just for myself, I am torn to an extent. On one side, it's a revival. A beloved franchise gets to live a little longer, and while the story might be the exact same, it will be new content to an extent. Truth is, we don't know if the story will be identical. I assume so, since it's called a remake and it's gonna be released under the same name. It will be interesting to see the dragons again in their new, more realistic forms. On the other hand, however, I am concerned. I apologize for being a cynic already, but I do have some thoughts about this project that are alarming to me. Firstly, the movie will be directed by Dean Deblois. That should be good, right? He directed the 3 other movies, right? Yes, but no. How to Train Your Dragon came out in 2010 and was directed by Dean Deblois and Chris Sanders. It was co-directed and co-written. When it comes to How to Train Your Dragon, Dean Deblois gets all the praise, and he is the director that most people associate with the franchise. Where I'm going with this is, Chris was only creatively involved in the first How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's apparent to most viewers that there is a drastic tone shift between the first movie and the 2 that followed. To me, the first movie is a much more heartfelt, down-to-earth experience that makes your heart soar. It takes place in an expansive world, but still manages to keep you close to the characters and greatly care for their story. The second movie is throwing us into a much larger scale in order to fit these massive stakes and 2 separate stories that have to intertwine, being both Volker's introduction as well as Draco's. It makes a movie that lacks intimacy. It has heart, it has emotional moments, but you never get long to stay in those scenes before you are thrown to the next. In short, the second movie feels a lot more like a hollow Hollywood production, while the first film had vibes of an indie movie and a unique flair to it. I think Dean loses this aspect as he tries to make his movies more grand and fit too much stuff into them. Both the second and the third, especially the third, are very rushed to fit a story that might be too grand for just one movie. I do realize this isn't a popular opinion, and you by no means have to share it. All I'm trying to convey is, There is a drastic change in the franchise when Dean Deblois takes over as sole director. So the fact that he is alone on recreating the first movie could alter the tone of the story and risk destroying the aspects that made the first movie so special. I am not saying this is guaranteed to happen, it's just a concern of mine. Another problem is of course the lack of originality. It's just a retelling of the same story with the same characters in the same setting. This has been a main critique of the Disney live-action remakes as well. It seems these movies are created with the sole intent of making money and not caring about the story, since the story has already been written. With that said, we don't know how Dreamworks will approach this task. As far as I know, there haven't been any cases of Dreamworks doing these live versions before. For all we know, it could be good. It doesn't have to be as soulless as what we've seen with the stuff coming out of Disney. Maybe they'll do it in their own unique way and create a new way of doing remakes that the fan base will love and appreciate. I don't have high hopes for this project, but already now, just blindly saying that the remake will be a disgrace to the franchise is ignorant. We don't know yet. And personally, I don't think we're going to know much until the first trailer drops. By then, we'll have an idea. For the time being, I think we are entitled to our concerns. We're also entitled to be excited if that's where you stand on the matter. In the end, we just shouldn't judge this project until it has had a fair chance of showing what it's got. That's how I am going to approach it, at least. Thanks for spending time with me today. I will leave you with a clip from Universal Studios in Beijing to show you what live action can be.